very first presentation is from Emily Stadulis. She's going to tell us about Rosco Digital Imaging. Did I get that right? Okay. So take it away, Emily.
Thanks, y'all. Thank you so much for joining us at DCS 2024. I am here today to talk to you about Rosco's Digital Imaging division and some different options for you to consider for your background imaging. We're in a wonderful stage right now of technology. We've got virtual production, we've got blue green screen. There's even some cool things you can do with some of the older translator backing technology. So I wanted to take you through some of those options that Rosco offers you. The important thing to know is that Rosco can be your one-stop shop for all of these solutions. So even if you're not sure what solution is best for your production or budget, please feel free to reach out to us and talk us through what you're trying to achieve and what you're working with. And we've got a variety of different solutions to help fit different productions of different budgets and different needs. So there are three main offerings that Rosco offers through our Rosco Digital Imaging division. We have our SoftDrop backings, which are available for both rental, custom, and purchase. We have some different options for blue and green screen, and we have some exciting new innovative approaches to bringing virtual production down to productions of a lower cost level and less labor than you've traditionally seen with full custom solutions. So for those of you who may not be aware of Rosco's background in the digital imaging and background space, we have been making different solutions for digital imaging and backgrounds on productions for over 50 years. One of our first Academy Awards was for the development of that day-night backing technology that you see behind me today that we'll show here live in a second. And we take that same expertise to creating these background images regardless of the format that you're using. And what's important to know about this expertise and what you get by choosing Rosco as your one-stop shop is that all of the images that you have access to through Rosco, through renting or custom solutions, are photoreal, scaled, retouched, and made specifically for use in background. That's because we're actually taking these images with a real-life person, as you can see here, Phil Greenstreet, the same person who won that Academy Award, taking those real images specifically for use in the background. So we're adjusting the exposure, we're adjusting that blur and the color for use for realism in your background. So let's take a look at our first option here with SoftDrop backings. Rosco does still offer vinyl backings in our rental inventory, but there's a few benefits I'm going to go through today about choosing SoftDrop. It's the same cost, so you can choose either. But this is really the forward motion of where backing technology is coming from. As you can see behind me, you've got this really nice, beautiful, soft cotton weave that doesn't have kicks or reflections. It allows your talent to get really close. And this right here is actually a day-night option. So right now, we have it front-lit for day. And then if Ron can do me a favor and bring up our backlighting and take off the front, you'll be able to see that transition of going from day to night. And what you can really see here is that it's actually a completely separate image on the back. So it's not just like a translight where you're just illuminating some windows. You really have that two distinct images to bring that realism to life. The second thing to note about SoftDrop, thank you, Ron, is that by going to a fabric option rather than vinyl, it's a much easier way to install, to light, and to light your fabric backing. So vinyl productions, you have to have a giant roller. It limits kind of where you can ship that easily. Mitch can tell me, as the local 80 person who helped us install this today, they were really a pain and a hassle to install. With fabric, one person can get it. We can ship it pretty much anywhere in the world cost effectively. And the fabric actually takes about a quarter less light than the traditional vinyl backings where you really had to blast everything behind. So feel free to kind of come around to the sides and see how little light it actually takes to get you that beautiful nighttime look. So as I was talking about in terms of the differences in the lighting techniques that you'd used for fabric versus a vinyl backing, you're able to get away with that much less light by not only lighting from the front like this, but by laying fixtures on the ground or sometimes even kicking them off of the fire line, and you can use a lot less light when you're doing that. The other thing that going to fabric allows you to do with SoftDrop is that it's a much better choice if your production is going to have talent really close to that fabric backing, and especially if you're going to be using any kind of on-camera and camera effects really close to your background. So this is actually an image from Stonewall where they had police trucks and things like driving actually through the backing. We actually cut out a hole. So they had the reflections of the police lights. They had real-life fire on set. If you were to try and do those types of effects in a traditional vinyl backing, you'd be getting a lot of kicks. You would have to extend the amount of stage space that you needed to avoid those kicks. So by going to a SoftDrop backing, you're actually able to save production cost by being able to take advantage of some of those benefits. And the next thing that you can do with fabric SoftDrop backings that is a little bit more challenging to do if you're working with other technologies like green or blue screen or video walls is SoftDrop backings allow you to add atmosphere to your set to increase the mood or to kind of give you the effect of much more distance to your background imaging. That type of technology and that type of effect is really difficult to do when you're working with blue or green screen or video walls because you actually have the kickback that you have to adjust with or that actual lighting. So keep this in mind too, that this is actually a place where you can save your production some money and some time in post-production by choosing the right background imaging if you're wanting to achieve those types of effects. And the last thing that is fun about fabric is that you're actually able to project directly on it. So maybe you don't have the full production for green or blue screen or full-on virtual production, but you do need some motion. The SoftDrop's fabric allows you to actually take lighting fixtures or different types of effects, video projectors, and to project directly onto the backing. So we've got a few different blog posts that can run you through these techniques if you're interested to learn more about that option. If you'd like to take a little bit of a deeper dive into some of the different ways that you can use SoftDrop backings to add an element of realism to your production, we do have a series of masterclasses available. You can scan that QR code right now, and that'll take you to our list showing you everything about how to approach choosing your background option, to installing your SoftDrop backing, as well as some of these different lighting techniques that we discussed today. I wanted to take everybody through some different productions that have used backings and why this was the most appropriate choice for them. In all of these situations I'm going to go through, they came to Rosco not yet knowing which option they needed. They didn't know if it was going to be a rental, a custom, blue green screen, virtual production. So we worked with each of these productions to help determine what was the right choice for them. So John Wick 3 is a great example of where you have a production that had a massive budget. They had the pick of what they wanted for their background imaging. They could have gone full Unreal Engine, virtual production, volumes, but they actually chose to do a custom backing in this case because their set, as you can see here, was nothing but glass, nothing but reflective areas. So this is actually an action shot of the final drop and in the scene that you can see here. So this is one of the largest drops we've made to date, 36 feet by 300 feet wide. And if you can believe it, this only had one seam along the entire run of the backing. But this would have been a really challenging series of shots to get if you were doing blue or green screen or even virtual production. So when we looked at the different options for them, they determined that versus a backing, blue or green screen would have been about twice the cost, and a virtual production scenario with a full volume setup would have been 4 times the cost. In this case, they didn't need a lot of dynamic movement in the back. You know, it was just the background static imaging. It didn't make sense to put the budget towards a full virtual production setup, even though we could have done that. In this case, backing was the clear option. But lest you think this is only for productions of ginormous sizes, this is actually that same John Wick backing that a Minnesota Timberwolves commercial used as a rental to transform a basketball court. So they had a situation where they had a very limited time to shoot with the players. They needed a kind of a background, nighttime, urban environment, but it was going to be tremendously challenging to book that location, to book all of the players for those times, work around their schedules. So instead, they actually brought the nighttime urban environment to the basketball court and were able to bring down the entire cost of production by using that same John Wick backing for a local regional television commercial. Going back to our big budget options, and a kind of interesting example of blending these technologies and not just choosing one type of technology for all of your background solutions, is Star Wars Rogue One. This was one of the first productions that used some of that newer technology, and they did actually use lots of blue and green screen, they used some virtual production elements, but they chose to use a SoftDrop backing for some of their shots. So in this example, you can see they needed to have people really close to the background. They were working in sand, so kicking up a lot of dust and things that would have been challenging to edit out in post or deal with the lighting kickback from an LED volume. They didn't need to have the dynamic movement. They need to have a lot of changing elements in the background. So for these particular scenes, SoftDrop was actually the best option for them. So if you'd like to take a look at the different rental options that are available, you can go to our roscodigital.com website, scan this QR code. That'll take you to our rental inventory, where you can search by size, location, cityscapes, choose different types of background images to look at some different options that are available for you to choose. Next, I want to talk about keying systems. And Rosco's offerings not only on getting you that blue or that green screen space that you need, but how you can actually use our digital imaging plates and technology in conjunction with your green and blue screen studios and setups. So Rosco offers one of the most complete keying systems on the planet. We have paint, tape, textiles, and flooring that all work together in both blue and green, chroma and digicomp, to offer you a wide variety of different keying solutions and options for different types of setups and studio environments. What's really important to know is that the Rosco keying systems are all matching between the different product types. So if you're using the paint, the floor, with the tape, with textiles, it's all going to be the exact same level of matte pigments that are going to be able to offer you a consistent key working in post. So you can scan this QR code if you want to get more information about different tips and tricks to set up your keying studio and when to choose which option, whether it's paint or floor, different options. And Rosco keying systems are made for keying. So unlike a lot of the products that are out there where they're using a mix of pigments and they're not using pigments that are specifically designed for keying, Rosco uses only pure matte pigments with 0.0% reflectivity. So you're going to be able to use less light on set, and you're going to be able to get a more pure and even key when you are working with the Rosco keying systems. And we've made a lot of improvements as well to the systems over the decades that we've been making these to also help protect your investment and bring down the costs. So you can get our paint in as few little bottles as quarts. Our textiles are actually inherently flame retardant, so you can stick those in the wash, stick them in the dryer, and you're not having to worry about retouching those. And whether or not you've got your keying system from Rosco or elsewhere, you can also take advantage of not only renting the physical backings, but renting and licensing out those images for use in a green screen environment. Again, these are specific images taken to be used in the background. So they're going to be photoreal and they're going to be appropriate for where that background image is appearing. So that is another way that you can access the Rosco Digital Imaging library to help simplify your production. And of course, we're very lucky to be on the forefront of virtual production technology. Yeah, you can go ahead and take the sound down if you want. And Rosco has been innovating and bringing that 50 years of Academy Award-winning background imaging experience to this world too. Virtual production is a really exciting new technology that we have. You can create anything in your background. You can have technicians on set that can change the scale of a rock or change time of day, add movement. And that's fantastic, especially if you have an endless budget. But the reality is a lot of productions don't have access to that. So Rosco has taken our same approach to democratizing background imaging and given you this new tool with RDX Labs, which stands for Rosco Digital Experience Live Action Backgrounds. So with RDX Labs, we take our range of library and the motion plates that we've shot for 50 years, and we now have the ability to give you a huge range of customization and control of your background environment live on set. So this removes the need for a giant brain bar and a lot of processing power on set and puts the control back in the hands of the director of photography and gaffer and allows you to make a lot of customization quickly, easily, and efficient on stage thanks to this little simple iPad that allows you that full degree of control. So exposure level, zoom, time of day, adding motion elements like weather or cars in the background, full frustum, sampling with LED video panels and working with our lights or others to match. So it's a really exciting way to bring virtual production to more productions out there. So again, some of the benefits that you get by using this system over maybe a full custom option is, again, these are photoreal images. This is actually taken one from New York from the production we'll be talking about in a little bit. And these are, again, made for the background. So something that folks are starting to notice with working with art departments and production departments is where there's tons of libraries out there of images of cityscapes and residential neighborhoods that you can get through a lot of these virtual production platforms. They're not necessarily made for background imaging. And so they're still looking really kind of false and a little bit uncanny valley, and that's requiring a lot of time on set to fix. So all of Rosco's images are made specifically for use in a background environment. The other thing is that we take all of these images and motion plates in 49K resolution. Now, that's not so that you can see 49K, because we all know we can't right now. That is to allow you to zoom in a lot on these images so that you can pick and choose which elements of that image you want and still have that highly, highly detailed photoreal background behind you. And the last thing to know, as we're all getting a little bit more sophisticated about these virtual production options, is that the RDX Labs system offers you repeatable background action. So one of the challenges in relying on the customized platforms like Unreal Engine and things like that, they're fantastic tools and they can do motion and they can do action, but because they were based on video game designs, they're not made to repeat background action in the same way. So if you need to go back and do pickup shots or just repeat your shot over and over and over again, it's going to be a little bit different every single time you do that if you're relying just on the Unreal Engine itself, for instance, to be able to reproduce that action. RDX Labs gives you the ability to not only have that action, but have it be repeatable and controllable the same time, every time. So I'd like to take you through, in this case, where virtual production and the RDX Labs system was actually the best choice. This is an example of the video wall that Steven Soderbergh used for his production of Full Circle on HBO Max last year. And in this case, we toyed around with a lot of different options with Soderbergh's team. But in this case, due to the proximity that he needed to have with the set, they were shooting on a very small stage in New York City, and some of the control he wanted over that environment and the ability to change, but kind of bring down those costs, RDX Labs was the perfect setup. So here you see just the test and the scaling that is done ahead of time on that production wall. And then this is a shot of the actual wall with the RDX Lab image and a night look behind it. And again, all of this is able to be easily controlled from an iPad that, in this case, the gaffer Derek Gross was able to use. So here you can see here, Derek is on set. He is working with the DP, he's working with the production design department to set those different looks. And you can see here in a shot just how wonderful and realistic that looks on set. So again, I'd like to reiterate, no matter what production level you are working at, no matter what your needs are, Rosco has a solution for you, whether it's backings, rental, custom, whether or not you need us for our blue and our green screen options, or just to simply rent a plate or an image to be used on your green screen studio, or whether or not you need a full virtual production setup at a lower cost point and a little bit easier to work with on set, please come and talk to us at Rosco. We'll be happy to help you out.
Thank you very much.